You are welcome to my Arrow programming training. So today I'm going to teach you how to write a function and why you need to write a function. So example, if I know I'm going to repeat a particular code, a particular method many times, it is best to stop the codes for that particular method in a function so that I don't need to repeat all the lines of code. I just have to call the name of the function. So let me start with a simple example. If I want to write the function for range is calculated as the difference between the minimum and the maximum. So this is what I will do. So let's say I have a set X, which is, let me simulate from uniform distribution. I want 10 numbers and it should start from 2 and stop at 10. So I want 10 numbers between 2 and 10. So let me see what S is. I will highlight X and run. So these are the numbers that we are simulated. Now I want to look for the range of this number. So first I'll look for the maximum. So I can say maximum dot.x, that's the name for maximum of X. Then the minimum of X will be minimum, let me use minimum.x. You can use any name you want. MIN is a function used to know the minimum value in a vector. So minimum of X, then range, let me put range.x. Range of X will be the maximum. So max.x, that's what I called it, minus minimum.x. Let's say I have different data sets and I want to repeat this method. I want to calculate the range for the different data sets. Do I need to keep on writing all these codes, these 4 lines of code? So I have 4 lines now. So will I be writing these 4 lines every time I want to calculate the range? Can't I store this in a single line? So whenever I want to look for the range of any number, I just have to call that single line. Yes, it's possible. So that's why a function. So this is how to write a function. So call the name range dot value. So that's the name I want to call. You can call it anything. So whenever I want to write a function, you start by writing the function. You write function. So when you write function, you're telling Arrow, I want to write a function. It means I want to write codes where I will store a particular method and I can call it up anytime. Then what will be inside the parentheses, inside the brackets for the function are the variables. What will be changing? So in this case, the variable is the data set. So I will call it data. I can call it anything I want. So I decided to call it data. I can call it X, I can call it Y. But is the data set, that's what I mean, that will be changing. So I have different data set, I want to look for the range. Then you open a curly bracket and click enter. Then the next thing you need is the maximum value. So I can write max.data, which is the maximum of the data. I can do min.data, which is the minimum of the data. I can do range.data. To get a range means the maximum minus the minimum, and I save the maximum as max.data minus min.data. The next thing you do is to write a function that will return the results. So you can either use return, or I think return is better. I prefer using return. Sometimes we use, okay, let's use return. So return range. So return is what Arrow will bring out as your output anytime you run the function. So I want Arrow to bring out line 364 as my result. So I will run this. So that's it. So I have a function that I've written in Arrow that I can use to calculate range. So whenever I have a data set, so now I have a data set X. This is what X means. I want to look for the range of X. All I have to do is to call up my function, which I wrote, which is range.value. and it will ask me what is the data. In this case, my data is X. I will run. I'm using Control Enter to run, but you can also use this. You can use this icon run. So that's it. It will give me my value. I have another data set, so let me call it Y. I want to simulate from normal distribution. I want to simulate 80 numbers. Mean is 13, and variance is, standard deviation is 5. So I have data set Y. So this is Y. This is my data set. I want to look for the range of Y. All I have to do is to call up my function. What's my function? Range.value. And it will ask me what is the data set that you want to look for the range. So Y, it will give you your range. You see, I don't need to repeat all the long codes to look for range because I've stored the formula, the code that can calculate range in a function, and I call the function range.value. So let's try another example. So I want to do for mean of mean of a set. So I want to look for the mean. I want to write a function. Instead of me doing, we know mean means you have to sum everything and divide by n. So instead of me writing the code every time, sum, divide by n, why not store it in a function? So I just have to call the function every time. So let me write the name of the function as average. Let me write the name of the function as average. So the first thing you do is to write function. So what is the variable that will be changing? So in this case, the variable that will be changing is my data set, which is the data set I want to look for. I want to calculate or obtain the mean. So that will be changing. So I can call it anything. I can call it data. I can call it K. I can call it Y. Let me call it data. You bracket and click enter. If you want to look for the average of a set, what will you do? The first thing you sum the set. So I can sum dot data. To sum set, you use sum the data. So that's it. Then the next thing is to get your n. N means the number of objects in the set. So, or the size of the set. So n, the way we look, the code to look for the size is length. So when you use length, R will calculate, we count the number of objects you have in that set. So length gives you the size of the data set. The average, I can call it average dot output. Let me call it average dot output. So these are names I choose to use. You can use any name. What is constant is the function. So the constant are the function. So length is a function, that one is constant, sum is a function, is a constant, but all the names I'm using like sum dot data, n are my choice. So if you don't like it, you can change it. Even data is also my choice. If you don't like it, you can change it. So what's the formula for average? Sum divided by n, that is summation x over n. And I save my sum as sum dot data, then divided by n. Remember, you have to tell Aru the results you want to see whenever you run a function, and you use the function return. It's constant. Return is to tell Aru this is what I want to see whenever I run this function. So you return, what are you returning? You are returning average dot output. So that's how to write a function. So these are simple functions I'm doing. So from simple, we move to complex. Remember, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Take a break, go and subscribe if you have not subscribed. Like this video, share this video. And if you have any topic that you want me to teach, you can write it in the comment section. If you have any other thing to say, also write it on the comment section. So back to the video. I'll run my function now. So I already have dataset X, which is this. I have dataset Y, which is this. So let's calculate the mean of X. So I will just do, I saved it as average. Average, it will ask me what is the data. Average of what? X. This is it. It gives me the formula. Average of Y. It gives me the results. A recap. Whenever you want to write a function, why do you need a function? If you want to, you don't want to repeat a code anytime you want to do that particular method, so you can save it in a function. So you just have to call up the function and it will give you the result. So I just wrote simple method. I wrote function for range, wrote function for mean. So this is the part one of how to write a function. I'll make more videos on how to write a function and we'll move to more complex situation. Thank you.